G'day, it's Clint Patterson here with another video on inflammatory arthritis, and today we are going to talk about non-steroidal and inflammatory drugs. We're going to talk about knee swelling, and we're going to talk about methotrexate. The topic today is brought to us from Fen, who's 21 years old. She's been doing the Patterson program for rheumatoid arthritis for the last little bit. She got it 3 months ago, and she's just responding to how are you doing emails that go out to all customers to find out how they're doing at the 3-month mark. So she's replied and said that I have permission to share her update, and therefore I wanted to use this reply to Fen, but also to share it with you so we can get this information out there and make good decisions with our inflammatory arthritis. Fem is 21 only, so very young to be diagnosed with, in her case, peripheral ankylosing spondylitis and psoriasis. Her eyes, back, shoulders, and neck all started to hurt, and she couldn't get out of bed, and then her right knee became very swollen. She got a cortisone injection into that right knee. Now, I might go on a few deviations in this short video, just quick deviations to make a comment or two on some of these topics that come up. With regards to cortisone injections into the knee, I had one into my left knee around 10 years ago that worked like a magical charm. It was absolutely brilliant. And I've had several over the years into my right elbow. They were over 8 years ago that I had those, and they did not work at all, even though they were done using ultrasound guided needle placement. So these can be hit and miss, but there is a good argument to sometimes get steroid injections into the knees, and I've got guidelines on that inside Rheumatoid Support and Rheumatoid Solutions. So if you're a member of those two, check that out. Now, she says a week later, my other knee got swollen also. She had that one injected. And then after a month, her right knee swelled again. Okay, so in her case, the inflammation being driven by the bacterial pathogenic microbes entering her bloodstream is being too great for the interventions that she's currently using at that point. She was put on non-steroidal and inflammatory drugs, and this is where we're up to here if you're following along on the video. She's put onto ibuprofen and some other different non-steroidals, and this is a common strategy for people who don't want to take rheumatoid arthritis or inflammatory arthritis disease-modifying drugs. Myself, and in this case Fen, really trying to go on to other lesser medications. Now, non-steroidal and inflammatory drugs, one of the focuses of this short discussion, I took them for 3 weeks when I was first diagnosed and caused massive increase in my inflammation after I ceased using them, meaning that on day 1 they felt like a miracle. By day 21, I needed over twice the dose to keep my symptoms at less of the state that they were. And then when I decided to stop the drug cold turkey, I found that I had absolutely huge amounts of more inflammation than what I had before I started the drug treatment. So for some of us, non-steroidals can be very detrimental. Now, I had someone on the Patterson podcast a few years ago, that podcast now called the Rheumatoid Solutions podcast. But before, when it was Patterson podcast, I had a guest on a few years back, and she was a lady from the UK, and she'd been on non-steroidal and inflammatory drugs for between 10 to 20 years and used that as her only drug to reduce the pain sensation in her body. And she was able to get off those medications in somewhere between 30 to 60 days. And if anyone's interested, I'm sure you can go and find that episode over at pattersonprogram.com/blog. You can search. And this made me reassess as to whether or not these non-steroidals are really that bad. And I think it comes down to what your diet looks like and what your exercise looks like and how much of the drug you're taking. And then, you know, basically how your body metabolizes the drug and what your mucosal lining surface looks like inside your digestive system and all sorts of things. But We know from the scientific studies that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs cause more leaky gut or more intestinal permeability, and this results in more disease activity. Okay, it's as simple as that. So Fen's keen to get off this medication. And as we go on her little story here, she got the Patterson program, and she said after a few days on the program, she noticed little improvements. My knees kept swelling, but I had a feeling that the swelling didn't occur as rapidly. Her energy started to improve after 4 days, and she began to have a little less pain, okay, after 4 days. The middle finger of my right hand, which has been swollen since January, now that, to put that in perspective, that's 6 months ago as I record this, began to calm down. It looks less red, and she can bend it further. Now, keep in mind, she's only 4 or 5 days into the program, okay? So she's eating like full-size meals. She is not doing any kind, at this point, of any kind of fasting or any kind of, things that are unsustainable. She's eating a nutritious, full diet that is meeting her calorie requirement. Okay, so now she says she really wants to come off the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and she's reduced those in half already, which is, again, outstanding given where she is at only 4 days into the program. And I'm just switching off my phone here because I'm distracted. Okay, at the moment, she said she can ride an hour on an exercise bike in the forest, and that brings a lot of pain relief. So notice, I want to talk about knees here. Knees need challenge, okay? Knees, elbows, shoulders need challenge. Other little joints, we have a different approach for each one of those, depending on what it is you're trying to address. So something for fingers and feet is going to be very different than something for shoulders, knees, and elbows. And in fact, each one of them have a different strategy. And again, if you're a member of Rheumatoid Solutions or Rheumatoid Support, go check out the training videos for each of those. But on this topic here, we're talking about knees, and knees need a lot of challenge, and I call it strengthening and stretching. So we do safe strengthening exercises and we do safe stretching exercises. With the knees, a lot of the connective tissue, the tendons, get inflamed, particularly in the lower part of the quadricep, where they connect in just above the patella. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get rid of that tendinitis at the connection point there above the kneecap, which really, really plays a big role in not just the inflammation and the pain, but also in your C-reactive protein and SED rate markers, okay? So this tendinitis, and remember that itis is inflammation. So when the tendons are inflamed, it makes everything more challenging. And so if we can reduce that, we can be more active into the use of the knee and the blood flow into the area, the synovial compression drives nutrients and oxygen into the joint via the synovial fluid, and this can all be helpful in clearing that inflammation in the joint. So she's doing the right thing and getting on that exercise bike being one of the strategies to help with the knee inflammation. She says she's very hopeful and she's following the program 100%. She's much happier now, and she hopes to have the courage to take her health now back into her own hands. Day by day, we'll see how it goes. But she says, I hope that I'm not going to have to take methotrexate, and I'm going to be able to stop the non-steroidals very soon to promote further healing. So 2 comments there before we wrap up. The first comment is around stopping the non-steroidals and why she wants to do that. She's aware, because of reading the program materials, about how the non-steroidals can be detrimental to the gut and can undermine our attempts to heal in the ways that I've mentioned a few moments ago. Worse than non-steroidals are prednisone for this particular impact. The studies are clear that prednisone causes leaky gut, and through corresponding with thousands of people over the years through Patterson program support or rheumatoid support, I've learned that prednisone is much more detrimental long-term to trying to heal than what non-steroidal anti-inflammatories are. The final point I want to make in today's video is regarding methotrexate. She's hoping to avoid methotrexate. Now, I just want to put an underline under the following comment. I personally am not anti-medications. I am pro-health to enable us to keep inflammation as low as possible. We want low inflammation. And if medications are one of the tools that help us get there, then that's great. And the only area that I offer great caution is if some of the medications we're taking are ones that cause us to be trying to fight a battle with one or even two hands tied behind our back. And the medications that can be counterproductive include the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug and, in my personal view, the prednisone, amongst some others. Okay, so, she doesn't want to go on the methotrexate, but from my personal experience and working with, as I said, over 1,000 people inside rheumatoid support, I've seen that people heal. People can heal on methotrexate, and that it is quite a good strategy to be doing something like methotrexate in parallel to the Patterson program. And then when everything's stable with time, there are strategies that I teach with how to get off methotrexate slowly and steadily, working with the rheumatologist so everyone's on board, and using the data of your C-reactive protein and the SAID rate, and using that data to then make the taper if it's appropriate. So, I would say to Fen, don't be so concerned about taking methotrexate. And it's something that is a sensible strategy that you can talk about with your rheumatologist if that becomes something that makes sense, so that you're not in long-term inflammation. So that is the end of this video. I hope it's helpful. If you want personal help from me and be a part of a supportive group of others and be able to participate with rheumatologists on monthly calls, join Rheumatoid Support. And if you just want all my training videos that I've ever created, to be able to log in, learn, log out again, and also join us on the webinars, check out Rheumatoid Solutions. It is a winner as well. Okay, and for all you folks on the Patterson program, keep at it. Love you guys, and you're doing wonderful things. We'll talk soon. Happy healing.